back to Summer Equals IPL. I've got Rishi, Adi, and Vansh with me, and we're here to discuss Kolkata Knight Riders. This KKR side, of course, did not have a great season last time out. They'll be looking to improve and change a lot of things going into this IPL season. But unfortunately, they've already had a few setbacks before the start of the season itself. We're here to talk about these setbacks. We're here to talk about possible combinations, best players, and things like that. And we'll obviously end up discussing the probable 11s towards the end of this video. Quickly before we start off, Rishi, what do you make of KKR's performance in 2022, and what will they be looking to do moving into 2023?
Let's say they were quite underwhelming to begin with. I mean, they're probably the third most successful IPL team, and when you compare them to that standards, they were quite underwhelming over the last couple of years. So definitely they'd be looking to improve on that. And if you were to ask me, I don't think they have. Like the squad is pretty much the same, and if anything, their batting has just been depleted.
Yeah,
So the loss of Shreyas Iyer is going to be massive for them. So
yeah.
let's see how things fare out for them.
Fair enough. Adi, what is your take on just KKR's approach to the 2023 season, their approach in the auction, and how are they looking according to you before the season?
I mean, this season, they look, almost the same. When you see they
Yeah,
added in Lockie Ferguson, they traded it. It was not an auction buy.
yeah,
They bought him, they traded him through Gujarat Titans, and we saw he won the IPL last year, and it's almost like a homecoming because he's coming back to KKR. I
that's
mean,
right.
apart from that, I feel like it's almost the same team. They've always had those so-called pillars with Russell, Narayan. They've always played for KKR there. And the thing, when I look at the team, I don't really see any proper leader in that team. That's really massive. As we've seen over the years in IPL, like when you've seen the serial winners like SRH, MI, CSK, they've always had a proper leader in Dhoni, Rohit Sharma, and David Warner from the before. So when I look at that team, I don't really see any leaders. Nitish Rana coming into captaincy as Iyer, is most probably going to miss the entire season. So it's basically a huge task for him because this is almost like a very young squad. When you look at their Indian players, they're all young players. They're not having much experience, in the international stage. So it's almost like Rana himself is a senior player where he hasn't played much international cricket himself. So when you look at the
Yeah,
batting lineup, you can see that like there are really no international players apart from Russell. So Rana, even though it looks pretty decent, it looks pretty weak also in the same sense. So like I feel like the bowling lineup looks pretty solid. KKR always had a very good bowling lineup. They've always had a solid bowling lineup. That's where I see the strength is, and I feel like they need to
mm-hmm.
capitalize.
Vanch, what about you? How are you taking to Nitish Rana being appointed as KKR captain? Of course, Shreyas Iyer will miss a chunk of this IPL season at least.
Um, KKR over the years have been like a pretty unstable team, to be fair. Their batting bowling has not usually, they haven't fared well together in like the past couple of years. They're very unstable in terms of some days the batting performs but the bowling isn't up to the mark. So I think in that sense, I think captaincy plays a big role, and Rana becoming the captain with such less experience, it's just a huge setback losing Iyer through injury. So I actually don't see any other possible captaincy option, and I understand why they've probably gone for Rana. They've said that he's been in the captaincy setup for the past 2 3 years, and now it's just a tag. But usually he over the past 2 3 years he's been involved with the team in making certain decisions,
Yeah.
even in terms of team compositions, like who to buy in the auctions. They're always in contact with the leadership group. But I mean, out of the possible options, Rana does look like one of the better options. But again, he's really inexperienced in terms of captaincy. So it's a huge setback in losing Iyer.
Yeah, fair enough. And given the situation at KKR right now, it's really tough to pick out, the three most important players. But Rishi, let me just ask you, who, according to you, will take this KKR side over the line if there are any? Just give me your three picks for the three pillars of this KKR side.
It has to be for me Lockie Ferguson, Varun Chakravarti, and Shardul Thakur.
Okay.
So, yeah, Lockie Ferguson's proved his worth last year in his IPL. He's brilliant towards the death, and Varun Chakravarti, he burst onto the scene really well, and he can come handy with the bat as well. And Shardul Thakur has, he started off as a bowler, but recently he's become quite useful with the bat. He came on as a bowler, and then he's properly established himself as an all-rounder, and not just for CSK but also for India as well on numerous occasions. So that extra batting option that they have is going to really come clutch for them.
Yeah. Adi, what about you? Who do you think are the three standouts in terms of? They probably need to be the standouts in terms of performances for KKR.
I mean, first it's obviously the captain Rana, because
Yeah.
he's going to be the captain. He's going to take on all the responsibility as a captain, and I also expect and believe him to also take drive of the batting lineup, because he's going to always come either opening. I believe either he'll open or either come number three. So he's going to be this the first spearhead where like he's going to carry the team in terms of
Mhm.
batting. And second, I still think Russell's been a huge player for KKR. He's been, especially when coming back to the Eden Gardens where he's always performed well. I expect him to at least hopefully come back to that form where like in that in the previous years when he used to hit a lot of runs in the Eden Gardens. And third, I expect Shardul Thakur to step up his game also, because he has a point to prove now.
Yeah.
He's been traded from his previous team. I expect him to like he went again for a decent amount of chunk of the purse was spent on him. So he's been there in the scene for a long time. I expect him to take a bit more responsibility, especially bowling also, and a bit of batting, because I feel like if Russell doesn't perform, I feel like he's the only other finisher who can come and maybe carry those innings. Like he's obviously going to be an X factor for me. So with the price tag he's been bought for, I feel like he's going to take a bit of responsibility. Because there were also a bit rumors that it was either between Rana and Shardul Thakur. So when you look at KKR, they actually look at him pretty highly, where like he almost got the captaincy, if not for Rana. So yeah, I expect
Right.
a lot from him too.
Vansh, do you agree with Rishi in terms of that all-out bowling sort of lineup in terms of these top three players, or are you more in sync with Adi,
Yeah.
where it's going across the board?
So I agree with Rishi in terms of Lockie Ferguson. Again, Adi also in terms of Rana. I also with KKR, it's usually they've had a lot of individual performances over the years where there's a certain individual in that season who has performed exceptionally well. And for me, I think this year, again, Rana and Lockie are really important in the team. I feel though I still feel I would like I think Jagdishan would start in the 11, so he could probably play a big role in terms of stability at the top. And while it comes to bowling, I think Shakib has a huge role to play
Hmm.
because of the 4 overs at Eden Gardens. Um, he has this great reputation of taking wickets and controlling runs. So, with his handy batting, I don't usually look at Shakib as an all rounder. He does bat a bit, but I'm more focused on Shakib as the bowler and the impact that he can have as a bowler.
I think for me, I pretty much agree. Like I pretty much agree with what Adi said in terms of going all across the board. Russell is going to be huge for KKR this season. I think a lot of the burden falls on him to perform with the bat and provide a few overs with the ball towards the back end of the innings. I'm also definitely going to be looking at Venkatesh Iyer as one of the standout players for KKR, because if KKR are to have a good season, we need another really good IPL season from Venkatesh Iyer. He's probably not going to be bowling his medium paces, but with the bat, he has to perform. And thirdly, I'm looking at Varun Chakravarti because it's been a tough time for him. He was called up for India. He played a T20 World Cup, then just fizzled out. Hasn't played for the national team since, and he sort of struggled. So it'll be really interesting to see how he goes. But if Varun Chakravarti comes good, that's 8 overs in the bag for KKR. Four from Narayan and four from Chakravarti, and probably a few from Shakib. So from a bowling standpoint, they look good, but from the batting standpoint, they look a little shaky. And I think a lot of the onus is on the batters for them. Um, Quickly, let's move on to talking about who your picks for the auction were from a KKR standpoint. Rishi, any surprises for you or any standouts for you in terms of this KKR side in the auction?
For me, it has to be Lockie Ferguson. I think it was a
Yeah,
brilliant buy, brilliant trade from them
yeah,
to steal him away from Gujarat Titans. And him, he's definitely going to be, like you said, Narayan and Venkatesh Iyer are going to bag 4 plus 4 8 overs, and his 4 overs are also going to come really clutch, especially if you want to, bring in an impact player, say a Tim Saudi. You can use
mhm,
Loki either in the first in during the power play or during the death exclusively, and he's going to provide result either of the ends of the game. So I think
right.
yeah, it has to be Loki Ferguson for me.
Ali, what about you? Who are you looking at as top buy?
I mean, when you look at the auction, it was really not that, those
Yeah,
flashy auctions.
yeah,
But as she said, Lockie Ferguson was a huge buy because he's come back to, the Eden Gardens where he's played a lot. He's been familiar with the franchise, so it's going to be pretty easy for him to, come and fit in easily. But I
right.
also expect Jagdishan to, I mean, that was this basically the major buy, and he's going to also wicket key for the team now. And he's going to take on some responsibility with the batting because with Iyer missing and, their top order being a bit open, it's like anyone can come bat whoever bats well. I expect him to, go out there and bat and get those runs because there's an opportunity for him. And then it's also a point to prove for him because, with Punt also being injured and, India itself not having a keeper at the moment, it's almost like a
Yeah,
spot open for anyone. So he also has this incentive to prove himself, try to, you know, put on a show in this IPL and, put his name out. So I expect Jagdishan to at least go and seize the opportunity.
Watch, what about you? Agree with Rishi and Adi in terms of Loki?
Yeah, yeah. So Jagdishan has been in the domestic circuit for like years. He's been playing for Tamil Nadu. He's been performing. He's been scoring runs for them too. So I think Jagdishan is probably the most important buy. Loki in terms of power play bowling is fine. I don't agree with Rishi in terms of getting the impact player on during the death because Lockie Ferguson for Gujarat Titans was one of the main reasons why their overs were pretty good. So I think Loki has a role to play in the death overs. But I'm like these two players for me in terms of the auction. Yeah, Jagdishan and Loki Ferguson are probably the most important
Hmm.
because Jagdishan has scored a lot of runs in the domestic circuit. So I'm really looking forward to him establishing himself in the IPL.
I'm actually looking at somebody who is also familiar with the KKR setup. I'm looking at Shakib Al Hassan and his return to KKR. Given the shaky batting lineup, I think he has a very important role to play at either 4 or 3, wherever he bats. And he will be very important with the ball as well to add to what Chakravarti and Narayan have already delivered in the game. Um, all right, Rishi, are you looking at any one facet of this side and saying, you know what, if KKR has to do well this season, this facet has to fire or this player has to fire?
I mean, like Adi said, what he said was actually true when it comes to Nitish Rana taking up responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
not just as a captain but as a batter as well. All these years he's always had the seniors, who's always taken care of situations where he hasn't had much on his shoulders per se. But now the scene has completely switched for him in a couple of weeks, where he's had to step up as a captain. He's had to, now they're looking up to him not just as a leader, but also as the main run scorer, their
Mm-hmm.
backbone as a team. So if they have, if they stand a chance, it has to come from their captain Nitish Rana.
Yeah. Adi, Rishi said that Rishi basically quoted what you said. Do you agree?
I mean, I expect huge things from Rana, but if you're going to that one player, I mean, he's been proven a lot. It's obviously Andrew Russell for me,
Yeah,
especially going back to the Eden Gardens, and he can do both with the bat and the ball. He can get those wickets, during those tough spells. Plus, he's very explosive. He doesn't really need two, three
yeah,
overs, get that rhythm. He can just come and start hitting. So that's obviously very important in T20. So I expect, I mean, when we've seen him, when he used to perform well, KKR used to perform well also. So I expect Russell, hopefully he comes back to his, so-called form and carry this team. I just whenever I look at KKR, it's almost like Russell's the main man. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Once more about you.
KKR, again, over the years, they've experimented with their opening partnership. Narayan has
Hmm.
opened for them. Rahane opened for them last year. They opened with Tomar last year, the last game. Venkatesh Iyer has been there. He's been a consistent opener. But the other pair, the other opening batsman, hasn't really established their position in the team. So again, like I said, I think it's for KKR to do really well. Jagdishan has to step up because it's just that there is no stability in the batting lineup. We've seen KKR perform over the last 4 years, and you see them score like 200 in a game, or they end up scoring like 60, 70, 80,
Yeah.
which it's just never there like for them. They've never consistently performed. So I think Jagdishan does provide that stability at the top, and if he does, then KKR can have a really good season.
Fair enough. For me, at least in terms of KKR doing well this season, a lot depends on their batting. The bowling will take care of itself. They've got Narayan, they've got Varun Chakravarti, Shakib Al Hassan. You guys mentioned Lockie Ferguson, we play Shardul Thakur. They have the experience. But from a batting standpoint, it looks a little shaky, and they need big guns to fire. If Gurbaz or Liton Das play, both of them have to deliver. They just have to deliver from get go for KKR to well this season. Um, there's a lot of confusion in terms of our lineups. All of us are not settled, have not settled with a specific KKR lineup. Before we talk about the Indians, let's quickly talk about the four foreigners that we've gone with. I think there are two corners locked in, which I mean it's easy to say. Sunil Narayan and Russell, of course, go into the lineup. The third foreigner, I see Rishi's gone with Liton Das as the opener. Once you've gone with, have if you gone with
Rocky
Rahmanullah,
Ferguson.
Doggy Ferguson, okay, and Adi's gone with Tim Saudi as the third foreigner. So I just want to know what the thought process behind this was, and yeah, why these players. Rishi, you want to
I
start?
mean,
Uh,
with okay.
So first of all, there has been a lot of confusion with the NOC being
Yeah,
issued by the Bangladesh Cricket Board. So once that settles, I think a lot of dust is going to settle once that is resolved. I mean, we still don't know if Shakib. I think Litton Das has come like gotten the signal pretty much, but it's just Shakib Al Hassan who's still, his situation is still a bit confusing. But so yeah, a lot of the foreigners being played for the KKR really depends on the Bangladesh Cricket Board issuing their NOC. So Lockie Ferguson is also pretty much a starter, nailed on starter for me. And it all comes down to that last part. If Shakib is, if Shakib is given the permission to play, it's Shakib, Lockie, Narayan, and Russell. Otherwise, it has to be. Oh, if I had to pick between Gurbaz and Liton Das, I think it has to be Liton Das for me.
but if you are playing the four that you mentioned, there would be no space for Liton Das or Gurbaz.
Shakib,
Oh,
Locky.
yes.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then it has to be Shakib, Lockie Ferguson, and the stalwarts, Russell and Narayan.
I'm just a little different from what Rishi has just mentioned. I pretty much have the same foreigners to play. I've got Shakib in there, I've got Russell and Narayan. And my fourth foreigner is Gurbaz over Liton Das. The idea behind it was that KKR's bowling is pretty much sorted. They will not miss Locky as much as missing a batter at the top end. And someone like a Rahmanullah Gurbaz will give them a good start. He'll give him that explosive batting ability, and he can really help KKR kick off in the power play. Um, Adi and Vansh, both of you have gone for the options of Lockie Ferguson. Why Lockie and Adi have gone for Lockie and Tim Southee in the same side? Any particular reason for that?
I mean, I feel like when I look at this team, I feel like they do need three proper paces, and I feel like it's going to be Umesh Yadav, Tim Saudi, and the Lockies. They're going to be the three main bowlers when it comes to pace, and I expect that to go on because they traded Lockie Ferguson. I just don't think they would have just traded him for no reason. I
Yeah, yeah.
expect him to come in and go off from the start. And when it came to Tim Saudi, we saw him last year. He was literally the main bowler. I mean, he was getting a lot of wickets also, especially in the power play. So I expect him to continue that form. And I feel like the team also depended on him a lot last year. And I expect these three to be the main bowlers. So that's the reason I've taken Tim Saudi. Because when I look at the batsmen, I don't think. I mean, I would have taken Shakib, but again, like we don't know what's no clarity when it comes to Shakib if he's going to be available or not. So that's why I went with Lockie Ferguson. Because when I look at the batsman, Gurbaz, I don't think he's like he can trump to what Tim Saudi and Lockie Ferguson offers to them. So I just feel like these are the most experienced season players. So I just feel like for the moment, those two are going to go.
Vansh, what about you? You've gone for, of course, the two locked in, and then you've gone with Lockie Ferguson and Shakib. You're missing out the opening options of Liton Das and Gurbaz. Reasons for it?
Yeah, so again, Lockie for me is a fixed starter, same as Russell. He provides you overs in the power play and the death. He was enormous for Gujarat Titans last year in the IPL. He bowled for them in again back end of the innings and the power play. So he performed. He was probably he was their best bowler in my like. I think so. So Lockie starts for me, and I think for Shakib, till he is there, there's a test match that he has to complete for Bangladesh. So till he comes back, they have either a Gurbaz, but I don't think Gurbaz starts because their opening pair is pretty much for me. It's Venkatesh Iyer and Jagdishan, and then after that, I don't think Gurbaz comes to at 3 or 4 because there's Rana, there's Russell Narayan, probably Gurbaz at 3 and Rana at 4. But if they don't play Gurbaz at 3, then I think they could probably use David Visa. They have him as the all rounder,
Yeah.
as an X factor. So he's like a like for like replacement in terms of his bowling and batting abilities. He's an all rounder, same as Shakib. So I think they could play him at 6 and stick with Rana at 3 because you've given him, you've trusted him with the captaincy. You've trusted him with the captaincy and you want him to score runs, you want him to gain confidence. So I think they can get that by him facing a majority of the innings. And again, they have 6 to finish off with David Villa, the same role that Shakib plays.
Fair enough. I think apart from the four foreigners, our Indians are pretty much the same. The only change I really see in our lineups is Jagdishan. Vansh has gone with Jagdishan. Adi, you've gone with Jagdishan as well. I personally have not. I've gone for the more experienced Mandeep Singh to play as a floater and an extra batsman. Um, Particular reasons for you guys have mentioned that Jagdishan, of course, comes in, with a lot of expectation this IPL. There is a spot open for him in the Indian team. But apart from that, do you see Jagdishan opening the batting for KKR once?
Yeah, of course. So the first, at least, the first 5 6 games till they've tried and tested the squad, I think Jagdishan starts. Like you said, Gurbaz is there. You want to play Mandeep Singh. You could probably play Mandeep Singh. You could open with him, but I think there's already in my team. I would have Rinku Singh. He's already there, and he's there in the middle order. So I don't want to put Mandeep Singh there too. I don't think Mandeep Singh has opened a lot in the IPL. So I would still go with Jagdishan just because of the number of runs he scored in domestic cricket. And I think they've really trusted that with all the money that they paid in the IPL auction.
Fair enough. Just want to finish it off by asking you guys, where do you think KKR will finish this IPL season? Rishi, where do you think KKR will finish this IPL season?
I don't think they're going to have a really memorable tournament. It's going to be one of, tumultuous times. They're yes, I think they're going to have to try really hard, and it's going to take quite a few miraculous performances for them to make the playoffs. But
Yeah.
they have a good fifth, sixth spot finish is there in the cards for them if
Yeah.
they're
Adi,
batting
what about?
first.
Yeah.
I feel like they'll end up in the bottom three just because I just feel like they don't have any stability. New captain, and when you look at the other teams, especially the top teams, they all look pretty stable. I mean, especially Rana being the captain, it's going to be tough for him. It's going to be a very long season. I just don't think they're going to be as good as the other teams, especially with the new captain. So, like in the bottom three.
Don't you agree with him?
Yeah, I agree with Adi. I think they're gonna end up in the bottom three, just because, in terms of stability, there's no stability in this team. KKR has never been a team that has been stable in the past 4 5 years. They've always had, probably Russell can come in, Narayan can come in with one, two, three good performances, win you a couple of games. But for the tournament, I don't think you need consistent performances, and I don't think any of those players right now are providing you that.
Fair enough. I think KKR have a bottom to finish in them as well. Just do not see the flair or the power or the consistency like you guys mentioned in this KKR side. And for these reasons, we are not very optimistic about KKR. But you know what? Let's wait and see. Probably there are a few surprises that KKR will throw at us come the end of the IPL season. Thanks, guys, for doing this. We'll be back with yet another preview next time.